And action. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Action Podcast. And with the release of Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, we decided I think it's a good time to do the original.
Why not?
So today we'll be talking about Beverly Hills Cop 4, which came out in 1984.
No, Beverly Hills Cop 1.
Correct.
Is there?
Did an original.
You said
original, yeah.
You said 4.
Oh, I added 4 because I was going to say 1984 after that, so I must have just mushed that together. Anyways, Beverly Hills Cop, the original. And with me, of course, is my brother Pete Escarcega, and I have also Drew Stewart. Welcome, everybody. And today, since we have 3 people, we decided to normally I'm just the judge, but we decided to make it interesting and add me to the competition. And we'll all be the judges today because sometimes there's complaints about my judging. So today we all get to be the
Never
judge.
from Peter.
Yeah, never from Peter. Peter never complains.
Well, never from Drew because he always wins because of Paul's awesome judging.
Yeah. Well, this movie, of course, is directed by Martin Brest, who also directed Midnight Run and also did Scent of a Woman. Hooah! Is that right?
Yeah,
there you go. This is written by Daniel Petrie Jr., who also wrote The Big Easy and Pete's favorite, Toy Soldiers.
the best.
This is also written by Danilo Bach, who was part of the story. Danilo Bach, obviously, interesting enough, he wrote one of the original versions. This movie went through many iterations. And he also wrote Beverly Hills Cop 2, 3, and Axel F as well. So that's also interesting.
Drew, did you see Toy Soldiers
I don't think I have.
with Sean Astin and Will Wheaton?
Oh, maybe like a long time ago.
Dude, if you want to
Is it Marcus from Indiana Jones? Isn't he like the headmaster or something?
he's the headmaster. Louis Gossett Jr. is the
Marcus,
like the dean of discipline.
R.I.P.
Great villain too. Yeah, that's a great film. That's a sneaky great.
So good.
I'll have to check it out.
This movie stars, of course, the legendary Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, and John Astin. John Astin's Taggart, if you didn't know that. Movie's about a freewheeling Detroit cop pursuing a murder investigation, finds himself dealing with the very difficult culture of Beverly Hills. And I already mentioned we're watching this mainly because of the release of the new one. This is really the film that transformed Axel Murphy from a star to a superstar. This was really that next level.
Axel Murphy?
Huh?
Axel Murphy?
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy. Sorry.
Dude, you are on fire.
I know. This movie was nominated for Best Screenplay, and it really launched, I think it really launched like the action comedy genre like into another atmosphere. There had been action comedies, but I just feel like this film, because it was so funny and had so much action, like we really hadn't really seen a movie, I think, this funny that still kind of holds up. And again, it kind of
It was also quite vulgar. It didn't hold any punches back or anything. It was just like, whoa, can you say that?
Yeah. And I think a big reason why this film, well, we'll get into it. A couple other notes. This was in AFI's 2000 list of top 100 funniest American movies. I already mentioned this got nominated for Best Screenplay. So Pete, dog, tell us, what were your thoughts on this film?
This movie was the most quoted, along with like Top Gun and Three Amigos and Ghostbusters growing up. And the crazy thing about this movie, though, was I think the first 100 times we watched this movie, it was the TV edit version. So there was no real swear words, and it was like the dubbing was really bad. So you can tell it was like, oh my God, and they just like the voices never matched at all. So I think that added to the comedy in the early days because it just sounded so ridiculous, and we knew what they were saying. And it was like, oh my gosh, they're like saying bad words, but they're not really saying bad words. But then, of course, then you see the real version, and it just blows you away. Like the amount of vulgarity that they took out for that TV edit was crazy. And this movie starts off like every classic movie of our generation, like with a great song. The heat is on, just comes on, boom, and you're just in this movie immediately. It sets the tone for this film. And then after that whole cigarette heist, they immediately let you see who Axel is, with that conversation that he has with the sergeant or whatever his name is. It's just
Becky Todd.
yeah, yeah, him. Um, and then it starts getting serious, and it just takes you on this journey. But it's like one of the funniest movies that you've ever seen. I don't know if you guys noticed this. I just saw it on this viewing when Axel's parked outside of Victor Maitland's house that first time. There's a DeLorean sitting right there across the street. It's like in one shot. It's like this quick little shot. It's in the bottom left corner. Um, and I'm like, oh my God. So I never noticed that, but it's actually um, before Back to the Future. And the
Yeah.
DeLorean was there. It was like almost like there's theories online because I looked into it. There's like theories online that, old Biff like went back to Beverly Hills 1984 and did something silly and it's stupid. Uh, that's it. It's a fantastic movie. It's one of the classics. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Yeah. Drew, what do you get?
I have a lot of thoughts. So I didn't see this till later in life. I was not allowed to watch movies like this, even dubbed with the bad language and stuff. So I came to it and like Eddie Murphy in general later in my life. And like I had seen him in some things, but like the first time that I really came to appreciate him, and I think I've talked about this on here before, was Delirious. And it kind of changed my whole perspective on everything. And then I needed to consume everything Eddie Murphy. And then going back and then seeing this film, kind of on the heels of that, and like seeing some of the things that he brought from that character, kind of that stand-up character, into Axel Foley, was kind of fun. Just a couple of his mannerisms and manners of speeches, and a couple of his words, phrases and stuff that he used. So that was awesome. And I was trying to think about it. Like, first of all, this Ghostbusters that we did recently has just got me with so many 80s feels for all these 80s comedies and everything. And we talked about it kind of on Ghostbusters. Did anybody have as good of a run as Eddie Murphy in the first half of the 80s? I mean, he
No.
was just printing money for himself and for the studios, and like he is I mean, this phrase is thrown around, like he's just electric.
Yeah.
And
The heat is on.
what's that?
The heat is on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just on a completely other level. Now I will say that the supporting cast in this film is great, and we'll talk about it. I really, really liked kind of the cast comprehensively, but he is just at that other level than everybody else, and you can't take your eyes off of him. You're waiting for every single next word out of his mouth. You laugh when he laughs because his laugh is so infectious. It's a great character. It's a great conceit. It's got a little bit of serious, a ton of funny. It's just also great to see kind of how the characters develop. I had such a blast rewatching it. It was fun, and the music. To your guys'
Yeah, me too.
music is
Me
incredible.
too. I
Yeah.
watched it yesterday and it was like,
So good.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
this one's
it's summertime right now. It's like perfect. Like it's just good.
yeah. I mean, this one's been on the queue. I mean, when we first started the podcast, this was a film that we always wanted to do. I mean,
we
it
got
was
to do
on.
Beverly Hills Cop at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was supposed to be a first season one, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. And then obviously, we took kind of a pause from these type of films, and so it just kind of got pushed, unfortunately. But it worked out because, again, I think the timing now is perfect to talk about this with the new one. And I think a lot of the brilliance of this film also comes with a lot of what the film had to deal with, and so I think the fact that it had to change hands from Sylvester Stallone to Eddie Murphy, I think in a weird way helped create the brilliance of this film, meaning they had to go through so many iterations. And obviously, those are two way different actors. It went from being a pure action drama to a comedic drama. And so a lot of the scripts weren't developed for Eddie Murphy by the time it got to him. They had really just kind of a synopsis. And so a lot of times they're just like, hey, we don't really have the lines here. Eddie Murphy just improv. And you could see that. And really, especially after rewatching all of them, watching the new one, really that's I think where the brilliance of this movie is. This isn't like a classic scripted comedy where the writing is genius. This is obviously it's a great screenplay. It sets it up very well, but Eddie Murphy is really the engine that makes it go because of his ability to improv and to just go off a tangent. And again, if
It's
they
like
didn't,
Ace Ventura with Jim Carrey. I mean, that
oh
movie,
yeah,
I'm not comparing the two in terms of greatness, but that movie, Ace Ventura,
oh
could not have been
Ace
made
Ventura is great.
without Jim Carrey. That's the
Yeah,
only reason why that movie was successful.
another actor wouldn't have made that movie. I agree 100.
No, and this is the same.
This is 100% the same. Eddie Murphy really is the only guy that could have made this movie work. And then, like Drew mentioned, and they just, I think this is really where Martin Brest's excellent came in. But the casting that he did in his background as a kind of a more serious director, he really picked people that became great. And Eddie Murphy, recruited Damon Williams to be that role. And it was supposed to be a completely different scene. And then, he recruited him because they had to shoot it just like where there was the only place that was lit, something like that.
Dude,
And
Damon
There's
Wayans is on there for 15 seconds
yeah,
and
yeah, that's it.
he steals it. Like it's so
it,
good.
it's a grand slam. You know what I mean? And Bronson Pinchot, who's behind yours, I mean, he's a big part of what makes this movie. So it's just, again, like so many little home runs, it becomes a blowout. And it's just like it's not fair. And then just going to the two other main characters, Judge Reinhold and Taggart, John Ashton. I mean, the chemistry between those two guys, and they did kind of the same thing. They did improv together. That's how they brought them together. They did improv to bring those guys in, and it's the scene Judge Reinhold did the bowel scene in the thing, and they end up keeping that because it was so good. And that just added so much because Judge Reinhold's really growth in the film is so critical to the story. He has a pretty full character arc, and Taggart is the same. Pete, we were talking about this earlier in the other podcast, but when at the end when Taggart goes into the trunk and pulls out a shotgun, then he's all in. And then there's that moment when Bogomil kind of gets all in. It's like this again, it just adds to the brilliance of this film.
Well,
And
what's great about it is that all the other characters outside of Axel, like they all try to be so serious in early on, and it's almost like Axel Foley, Eddie Murphy, like almost in like if you knew him in real life, he's infectious. Like either way, no matter what, he's pulling you over to his side, and you're just gonna have a great time and
yeah,
not give a shit about anything. And he does that with every single character in this movie, all the way up to Bogomil. Like
yeah,
even Bogomil lightens up, which is crazy.
yeah. Well, and then you realize some of the other peer enemies, like the Place of Chief in both films, one and two, is really one of the big enemies of the film. And even the Axel F, right? I mean, that kind of worked out that way too. But yeah. All right. Well, background. I'll vote first since I like Pete's first because it literally kind of makes me laugh. He picked literally the perfect moment
Thank you.
of Bronson Show. So my vote will go to Pete for background. Drew, I don't know what you want to do.
Um, I like these backgrounds, obviously. I mean, Pete, did you already vote for yourself?
No, I did not yet.
So I obviously Pete and I chose the
Go
same
ahead,
one.
give an explanation, and then I'll vote for myself
Originally
and
I
get the
had
point.
originally I had Peter's. Then I switched to the one that I have for two reasons. One, because I actually wanted to see Eddie Murphy's face. It felt disrespectful to have Beverly Hills Cop background and not have Eddie Murphy's face. And two, because it just makes me think of like, and obviously Bronson is actually doing it in the Below one, but I don't want to give too much away, but just like thinking of the two of them trying not to laugh at each other while they're doing this, and it kind of looks like Bronson Pinchot there is like kind of swallowing a laugh. So that's why I chose this
So you're
Great
picking.
explanation. So you
one.
pick you. Okay. Well, I vote for me, so point Peter.
Of course, of course. Pete's gonna pick his own. Yeah, Bronson Pinchot. I mean, I don't know why he had
Hold
to
it.
go
Let's not.
away.
We gotta talk about him. Hold it.
Yeah. We'll talk about him. I wanted more Bronson Pinchot
Oh,
throughout his whole career, though. Like Surge could have been his own movie, and that would have been awesome. All right, next. Oh, and then explanation. Pete, I'm gonna let you go first to pick.
Um, I vote Drew, I thought mine was fantastic, more nostalgic, but he's one of those newcomers, so you got to give a newcomer a point.
All right, that's fine. I'll go with Drew.
Hey, thanks, guys.
All right, Drew, who are you gonna pick just for?
Um, I feel like I would have probably gone for Peter. Paul, yours was good, but you were still kind of doing hosting
Okay.
duty.
Yeah.
I could be up 2-0 right now.
No, I definitely thought Drew's was better than Pete. I would have picked me over Pete though. Pete, you just kind of like this is good. Like I don't know. It was your interjections were better than your actual like opening statement.
Wow, shots fired.
Anyway, yeah.
I thought you did good.
This is why I have issue with you being a judge. Like I just like poured my heart out about how important this movie was growing up, and then you're just like, you just said, it's as good. That's it. Go
No,
fuck
I thought
yourself.
your interjections were better than your thing. That's all. That's all I said.
All right.
Take it for what it's worth. All right, next budget and box office. So this was made for $13 million. It grossed 316 million.
Is
One of
that
the
a
most
good return?
That's a
uh,
great ROI.
Not
one
a
of the most this is the third adjusted for inflation. This is the third highest grossing R-rated film after The Exorcist and The Godfather. And
Nice.
this was the highest. This broke the 11-year record of The Exorcist, non-inflation. And this was the highest R-rated film domestically until The Matrix Reloaded in 2003. And this was the first
Was
of
that rated R? Matrix Reloaded?
apparently, yeah.
I guess because of violence, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. This
Man,
is the first of 7 Eddie Murphy movies in a row to open #1 at the box office. We were talking about it earlier, like that's legit gold right there. 7.4 IMDb rating. I thought that was really low, and the only thing I can
feels
think
low.
is because maybe people watched it that aren't into the movie, like that aren't Eddie Murphy fans. But it's like, why would you watch it? I don't know.
like
That's
Well,
I
he
feel
hadn't really,
they always skew low for comedies anyway.
yeah. I
but they
just
haven't. He hadn't really seen a movie like with this sort of impact, especially
yeah
with this actor. Like this was huge.
yeah.
How
Uh,
could it make how could it make 300 plus million dollars
Honestly,
if it was not
I
well
feel like
received?
part
It
of
just
it
doesn't
is
make sense.
critics. Like when there's like a lot of swearing and off-color stuff, and like I feel like they believe that that's relying on like gimmicks and it's like
yeah
cheap and easy when it's like brilliant. I
yeah.
just I don't
Yeah,
think
I mean,
they
I'll read the ratings, but overall, this is pretty low. But 7.4, like I mentioned, IMDb rating is 66 Metascore, which
that's
is
crazy.
super low. The highest rating was actually 83, but I didn't even know who that was. So I just went with the next one, which was an 80 by Richard Schickel, who we know.
What did,
Um,
what did Peter's boy give him?
we'll get that next. Murphy exudes
Rest
the
in
kind of
peace.
cheeky, cocky charm that has been missing from the screen since Cagney was a pup, snarling his way out of the ghetto. But as befits a man-child of the soft-spoken '80s, there is an insinuating sweetness about the heart that is always visible in the sleeve of Murphy's habitual sweatshirt. Like, okay,
Snarling his way out of the ghetto. At what point does he snarl? All he does is laugh and smile the whole time.
yeah. And
Oh no, I think he's referencing Cagney. When Cagney was a pup, snarling his way up out of the ghetto, right?
oh
He's
yeah,
referring to
yeah, maybe you're right. Anyways,
Cagney.
that's like a great review. And the second one. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times gave us 63, which I believe will be a 2.5 stars. Eddie Murphy looks like the latest victim of the star magic syndrome, in which it is assumed that a movie will be a hit simply because it stars an enormously talented person. Thus, it is not necessary to give him much thought to what he does or says, or to the story he finds himself occupying. Again, this missed on so many different levels because it got
What an
nominated for
idiot.
screenplay, and the screenplay really is really good, like in terms of like the connections and all that. I mean, again,
His brain just doesn't work correctly.
He's
no,
an
you
idiot.
mentioned it. He's not good with comedies.
God rest his
I
soul.
don't think he knows
But
how to handle a guy as funny as Eddie Murphy. And this is the worst one. Always love telling him the worst ones. This is Pauline Kael from the New Yorker, gave it a 30. The whole
Oh,
pic,
I'm sure somebody from the New Yorker really thought it was a hoot.
yeah, the whole picture is edited and scored as if it were a Lollapalooza of laughs, and with Murphy busting his sides, guffawing in self-congratulation, and the camera jammed into his tonsils, damned if the audience doesn't whoop and carry as if, yes, this is wow of a comedy. Like, I would never want to go on a date with that girl. She just sounds,
Gosh, that
You,
sounds like borderline racist. Like whoop it up.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, look, really, in terms of
Imagine,
comedy, Richard Pryor really is only the only guy before this, and he hasn't done really his major movies
You didn't
of
do Silver Streak yet?
maybe, but that's not as big as like his other films, no?
I
did
feel
he
like
hook up with Gene Wilder yet at this point
No, I don't
to
think so.
do?
I thought that was like right around now. So that's my point is it's still pretty fresh in terms of I mean, you might be right. Maybe these do have a little bit of a racist
Can
undertones or
you
not being able to handle.
can you imagine sitting across from her like at a date, like during dinner, like listening to what comes out of her mouth? Oh, that would be a nightmare.
Oh, Pete, you're fine again.
Oh, your side-splitting guffaws in self-congratulation.
Yeah. That you're definitely self-congratulating your jokes.
Well, I'm sorry to report, I just looked it up. She's no longer working as a movie critic.
Yeah,
it's a
but
shame.
all right,
Too bad.
this will lead us into our first category. This one's I'm curious to see where you guys vote on this one, but this is the top 5 Eddie Murphy films. And yeah, Pete, you started this, so we'll start with Drew on this one. Drew, me, Pete. But Drew, yeah, give us your top 5.
Going through his catalog just reminded me of like how bummed I am that he just kind of fell off so hard after a little while.
Thanks to
It's hard to sustain that for certain. But I skewed very 80s, very early. My first one, I'm doing all 5, right? We're not
thanks to
sneaking.
Michael Eisner.
Yeah.
Paid
Uh,
a buttload
my,
of money to do terrible movies.
my first one is number 5 is Bowfinger, with Steve Martin. And what?
Jesus, that movie sucked.
Oh, I like that movie a lot. I like him. I like Steve Martin in it.
Yeah, I like them
And
individually.
I had to try to do something a little bit newer, and literally everything else newer is horrible. Number 4, Trading Places. Love Dan Aykroyd. Love him. Just that, you know, SNL energy kind of still happening. Number 3 is like kind of my top 4 really could have gone in mostly any order. Number 3 for me was 48 Hours. If you want to talk about kind of that action comedy buddy stuff. Amazing. It's kind of hard to believe that it was happening kind almost right at the same time as Beverly Hills Cop. I mean, just two different franchises happening. Really, really good. Coming to America, number 2. Him and Arsenio just crushing it.
So
And
good.
number 1 for me, Beverly Hills Cop, the original.
Nice. Yeah, a little bit different. My number 5, this is my quote unquote.
That is such a jab. Well, that was a little bit different.
I mean, you can't argue my top 4. If my top
No,
4
no,
are
no.
not on,
I think your top 4 is great.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
great.
my number 5, I
there
think
as
is
all the facts.
his greatest, newest film. And I huge quotations on that. But I went with The Nutty Professor. I think that film was
Yeesh.
that same kind of improv Eddie Murphy, him being able to play multiple characters. I think that really fit into his wheelhouse. I think it's hilarious. We got to see a young Dave Chappelle on stage on that, but that also spurned the sequel. But him when he was all the different characters, like I love that one. I think that was fantastic. Number 4, maybe one of my favorite films of him, and I think it's highly underrated, but it's Golden Child. I absolutely love this film. I could easily put this one number 1. Not that I would, but I could. Like that's how much I love this film. My number 3 is 48 Hours. You already mentioned it. I think that was his first film, and that's again the movie that made him a star. This one's the one that made him a superstar. Number 2, Coming to America. Again, for all the same reasons, I think that Nutty Professor. This was the one where he really got to showcase his ability to play multiple characters and then crush in multiple characters, not just play. And then, of course, number one, Beverly Hills Cop. Axel Foley is his greatest character of all time.
Yeah, those are pretty nice lists, both of you. Number five for me was a toss-up between 48 Hours and Trading Places because like they were both just really great. I went with Trading Places only because it was just like this outrageous comedy and it wasn't a buddy cop movie like 48 Hours was, and
Yeah.
that'll I don't want to have the same kind of movie. Number four for me is a movie that came out when he wasn't doing a lot of like really good stuff anymore. And it was just his voice. And it's lasted for 10 films right now, which is Shrek. Him as Donkey, that voice it's iconic. Um, Along with Michael Myers, I mean that 1-2 combination has spawned so much content and so much money.
Yeah.
Number three, Golden Child. I agree, it's like one of the more underrated comedies ever. It's laugh all the way through. Um, Number two is Coming to America because it was another staple in our house, and it's just quotable all day. It's hilarious. It's one of the funniest things I ever saw at the time. Number one, Beverly Hills Cop. That's a perfect list, man. That's so good.
All right. Who do you vote for, Pete?
Me, mine. My list is it's brilliant. Nobody put Shrek on there. He's
Only because it's just his voice, and
so what?
he's the secondary character. But
Well,
again,
it's like
I don't
Axel
think.
Foley. Nobody else could have made a donkey that funny.
No, I agree. I just, again, do I vote for a voice where he's the second
This is the
character, or
Beverly Hills Cop of
do I
animation.
vote for a movie where he's five characters and he crushes in all of them? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but the movie's got to be good. I mean, Shrek is incredible.
Nutty Professor's good. What are you talking about?
Stop it. Stop it. It's not. It's
Uh,
not. It's fine.
Drew, what do you got? Who do
It's
you
not
vote?
Shrek.
I will go with Paul and Nutty Professor
Okay,
over because you guys both had Golden Child.
yeah, I'll go with mine as well, just to break
I
the
mean,
tie.
Peter, the only reason is
That's so dumb.
you left off 48 hours. That's tough.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't want to be, like the cool crowd. Just, oh, I have to put all of his buddy cop movies in there. No, I
All right,
wanted to be a little bit
we have,
different, Drew.
we have a three-way tie, 1-1-1-1. All right, this will lead us into
Nice.
our first category, which the Oscar goes to, and I guess I have to start on this one. Yeah, I mean, I kind of already mentioned this, and so I'll just kind of reiterate it. I don't need to talk a lot about it, but again, I don't think this movie gets made without Eddie Murphy. He also produced this as well as Eddie Murphy Productions, and again, he recruited Damon Williams, um, and really just his ability to improvise, I think is the true backbone of Beverly Hills Cop, and really what makes the first one the best out of all of them was his ability and the proper usage of improv to really carry the films. I mean, other successful comedy films that improv, like Step Brothers, Anchorman, you know what I mean? Like, as long as you continue to do the improv, like that's what makes it the ability to do it more than, to repeat that kind of similar success. And Pete and I were talking about earlier, that's what holds the newest one back slightly, is that they don't improv as much. But Eddie Murphy in his prime is about improv, and no one else could have done this film. I mean, to think Sylvester Stallone in this, it's just a completely different movie. Not to say that it would have been a bad movie or not even a successful movie. It's just a completely different movie.
I
And
would have been Cobra, like he made
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah, exactly. No, it was cool. Yeah, exactly. He actually used parts of that screenplay to make Cobra. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Eddie Murphy.
Hmm.
It's good to start
True.
first.
Am I
No, it's
next?
you. No, Pete's next.
I'm next. Oh,
Yeah.
um, yeah. I think I'm gonna go with the music supervisor because from start to finish, the music is perfectly placed and it's perfectly selected, and one guy kind of got all those songs together.
You know the name
Um,
of the music supervisor, Pete, that you're giving the Oscar to?
Roger Woods is his name. He's one of the best out there. Um, and
You
so,
know,
yeah,
you could have literally researched it while I was talking.
yeah, I know. But I was on a roll. And so, like movies like Top Gun and Karate Kid and Beverly Hills Cop, like these movies just have end-to-end music that's just perfect. And James Wood is so good as a supervisor.
James Wood. Oh, you're changing his name?
Yes, it's that's what I call him because we're buddies. I call him James.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Jimmy, sometimes
Who you
Jimmy.
were looking for, Pete, is I don't know. Actually, they don't have that credit.
Can't prove me wrong, can you?
It's not even a credit.
With
Um,
Joshua Woods? No, Joshua Woods is like one of the best music supervisors ever.
it they don't have a music in this film. They didn't have a music supervisor, so
Well, whoever made that decision deserves an Oscar. God damn it.
oh, worst answers of all time, Pete. Great job.
Okay,
Oh
cool.
wait, hold on. I'm in the sound department. It's got to be. The
I don't disagree though. The music's awesome.
music is awesome. Unfortunately, there's no one that will win the
Actually,
Oscar.
that role.
All right, Drew, what do you got?
But they
Well,
just pulled the music out of thin air or something.
this is one of those ones where going first helps. So Eddie's well done on Eddie. I'm gonna say
And the music.
and the music. I'm gonna
And
say
good job with the music
to
too.
round it out. I'm gonna say Martin Brest. He is
You
the
just wanted to say that.
I did. He is the director of one of my other favorite movies of all time, Midnight Run, which I could watch over and over and over again. And there's so many similarities between those two movies, like in the direction of like the car chases and kind of like the slapsticky of that. Like it's very that opening scene with the cigarette truck barreling through Detroit is very Midnight
So
Run
funny.
for me, and it's ridiculous and it's
Yeah.
funny, and just his ability to kind of what we talked about, like direct a movie that is scripted but essentially give the power and license to all of the actors to improv, make it their own, and not let his ego get in the way, and just understand that this was a group effort, and that this was Eddie Murphy is an animal, and these guys really came together as a great ensemble cast. And so I think he did a magnificent job as the head of this entire thing, putting the movie together and just kind of putting people in place to do their brilliant things that they did.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to name like one of his biggest decision, which was Bronson Pinchot. That there's another guy in the scene, and originally it was just going to be a two-person scene, and because Bronson Pinchot was just crushing it, they're just like, all right, we're just going to make this one character, and it's going to be Bronson, and go. And he created the character from his makeup artist that was wear sunglasses while doing it, and he just kind of morphed this character. But that was, I think, definitely one of the best decisions Martin Brest made. That really did make him a genius in directing this and the right guy.
I really wanted to say best supporting actor was Surge, but he wasn't a supporting actor, which was like I just wanted to give him an Oscar
I would have actually given you.
for that
I might
role.
have voted for you if you picked Surge.
I really wanted him to win an Oscar.
At least he's a name versus the mythical music supervisor that you pick.
Yeah, Jameson Woods, he's one of the best out there. I give the point to Drew. I mean, that's great, great.
Drew, who do you got?
I will take mine because Eddie Murphy was easy, and I feel
Yeah,
like
duh.
I would have voted for you, but you literally left off the biggest reason why Martin Brest was the best choice. That was the only reason why I wasn't going to vote for you. I easily would have voted for you if you did that. But anyways, it doesn't matter. You still get the point. Good job, Drew. Drew takes the lead, 2-1. Next, we have the Get Me Ari Gold Award for different castings. There's only going to be one thing we're going to pick out of this. But couple notes. I'll go first, and then we'll do the actual category aspect of it. But Gilbert R. Hill, he played Inspector Todd. He was actually the real life Detroit Police Department homicide guy. He was actually in the White Boy Rick documentary. He was part of all that. Also served as president of the Detroit City Council.
No way.
We already mentioned this. This is the film debut of Damon Wayans. We already kind of talked about this, but Sylvester Stallone left the project because he didn't think audiences would accept him as a fish out of water cop who was new to the lifestyle of Beverly Hills. He also
Which
didn't
was a good decision, like good
yeah.
call.
He also
Well
didn't like the
done.
inclusion of comedy because he didn't feel he was best suited for it. Although he ended up
Again,
basically doing a very similar type of role with Tango and Cash, where it was comedic with Kurt Russell, but he was still the guy that played it more straight than him. So
right.
he would eventually acquiesce to that. Uh, Martin Brest was actually fired from War Games. That was his second job, but Simpson and Bruckheimer disagreed and called him to direct this film. And he kept declining, and eventually he took it and flipped a coin to make his decision. So, yeah, almost didn't happen with Martin Brest, but he decided to give it a go. Uh, so this is the part now. Oh, and then also Martin Scorsese was offered a chance to direct, but he turned it down because the premise reminded too much of Coogan's Bluff from 1968, which I have not seen. Have you seen that one, Drew?
No,
No.
maybe we should do that.
Yeah, that one might have to be on the list. All right, so this now we're gonna pick the next Axel Foley. I'm gonna read you a bunch of names.
Good.
Uh, but I already mentioned Stallone or Mickey Rourke. And then he ended up using ideas to make Cobra. Pete, you kind of talked about that, which also starred Brigitte Nielsen, who would star in the sequel of this one. Jeff Bridges, James Caan, Billy Crystal, Robert De Niro, Harrison Ford, Richard Gere, Mel Gibson, Gregory Hines, Michael Keaton, Nick Nolte, Al Pacino, Richard Pryor, Dennis Quaid, Kurt Russell, Arnold Schwarzenegger, John Travolta, Robin Williams, Bruce Willis were all considered for this role. Now, keep in mind, this is 1984. So that's going to
This
play.
is go ahead. Keep going.
It's a lot
So
of people.
yeah. So pick your Axel Foley out of all those names picked in 1984, though, guys. That's the caveat.
Yeah. Who's first?
I went first last time, so you're first.
Me
Yeah,
first.
yeah, you're first.
Um, well, the majority of this list is ridiculous. Like it just would not work for the majority of the names. You need someone who's mobile, who's can be both hilarious and serious, younger. I mean, it's either Michael Keaton or Kurt Russell. Um, I could see Michael Keaton doing it and being zany because he used to do a ton of like those kind of zany, kind of quirky movies.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell, I mean, we saw Kurt Russell in like Big Trouble in Little China, and then eventually, like you were talking about in Tango and Cash. I'm gonna go Kurt Russell.
Okay. Drew, who do you got?
This is hard. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say
And say Point Peter.
Billy Crystal.
I was thinking that. Do you want to do an explanation or?
Yeah, I think that like if I think
Hmm.
back on him, um, he was a superstar in the 80s and early 90s. And
Well, this is 84.
yeah, but I think yeah.
Had you done Saturday Night Live yet? I'm
Um
looking right now. Don't worry about it. Keep talking. I'll answer for you.
Anyway, I think he does it. He could do a very good job of towing the line of the serious piece, but also he has a very natural and easy humor to him. And I think kind of that infectious like way about him that can kind of bring other people along with him. So for me, there's just something about him and kind of that twinkle that he has that I think I would have probably gone with Billy Crystal.
Yeah, it's a good choice. I think I would argue that there was just not there was not enough edge to him in a way to play this sort of role. Like there's no danger in
Yeah.
Billy Crystal. Like, Axel Foley looks like, he works out, he can kick your butt.
Yeah.
He talks a good game. I don't know. Billy Crystal just seems kind
Yeah.
of a wuss.
I initially was thinking Billy Crystal myself, but like Pete mentioned, I felt the character needed edge. and then it kind of became a no-brainer for me. Well, who was the guy that Eddie Murphy looked up to? And it's Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor is the edgiest comic. He's got a screen presence. Everybody looked up to him, and I
But yeah, I
think,
don't think you could have had him be the serious Axel though. Like he
well, I mean, I think that's the part. Hopefully, that he can become an actor, right? Like you have to act. Again, I'm not necessarily saying he would be better than Eddie Murphy, but I think if anybody can replicate, at least on the humor side, because as much as yes, the emotional part's important, at the end of the day, like you got to make us laugh for this film. Again, we're not doing the Sylvester Stallone film, which, like Pete mentioned, a lot of these guys I would eliminate. A lot of these guys didn't really become funny till like later in their life, but like Harrison Ford, I mean Harrison Ford, maybe he can do it,
I
but
like Harrison Ford a lot. I just don't think he's funny enough.
yeah, I don't think he's funny enough. I think and then my number two would have been Gregory Hines, because I think Gregory Hines has the acting chops, but I don't think he's got the pure comedic chops that Richard Pryor. So I'm
no,
definitely
but I don't know if he necessarily has leading chops either.
he
Like
did. Yeah, he did.
could could he have carried this film like that? I don't know.
No, which is why I don't think he's the number one choice. I think it's Richard Pryor. I think it's, again, nobody has the explosiveness that Richard Pryor has. I mean, like,
I just felt like that was like, no, I don't mean that's a good choice. It just felt too easy to me because he was kind of his mentor. Um,
I
so
mean,
I was trying to
yeah,
think a little
it
outside
is
the
I
easy.
box.
agree, Drew. It's
It's
an
an easy
easy
choice, and you guys overthought it.
no way. I'm definitely not voting for Paul.
Yeah, I don't expect you to ever. All right, Drew, who do you vote for?
Just because I don't want to vote for myself, I will vote for. I do think Kurt Russell could have towed the line. I'll go with Peter.
It's
Yeah,
crazy you said that because I was thinking the same thing.
yeah, great. All right, P gets the vote. I'm gonna go with mine only because
Peter will always vote for himself. Don't worry
I
about
think
that.
Richard Pryor is by far the best choice. I think Kurt Russell's too young. I don't think he's ready yet.
He already did Big Trouble in Little China. He crushed that.
No, he didn't. Big
You
Trouble in Little
sure?
China is 1988. I don't even think he's done a movie yet. That was the whole point why I said make sure you remember about the line. I think he did Escape from New York.
Yeah, he had definitely done, I think, Escape from New York.
I think that was the only thing he's done.
Yeah.
But besides like smaller roles, but he did Escape from New York, The Thing, um, Big Trouble in Little China is after this. Even Over
Wow.
is after
Oh
this.
wait, is it like 85?
This is 84, so you're
I'm
shooting
saying
really
Big Trouble in Little China.
86.
Oh, okay.
And then like Tequila Sunrise, I feel like, I mean, Big Trouble in Little China, I think it's about a little bit right before I think he's ready to do this. But
Well, either way, I got the point, so
yeah, you got the point. So what does matter, right? All
doesn't
right.
matter.
Next we have It's Not Your Fault, the most powerful scene that gets you emotional or sad. Drew, you're gonna start on this one. What do you got?
Yeah. Good luck with this one. I have no idea. Like this one is so silly.
It is hard for this movie.
I mean, if we don't want to vote on this one, we can skip it.
For me it was I don't care if we give points. This one was hard. For me, like the moment where I was like, "Oh," was when Judge Reinhold's supposed to be driving him out of town. And he
I love
can,
you, Billy.
yeah, and he convinces him to not do it and to go with him. And then Judge Reinhold's like, well, I guess I'm gonna screw this up too. Can't even drive you out of town or whatever.
I like
And
that.
and that's how he like tells him that he's gonna stick with him. And then Eddie Murphy turns to him and says that he tells him he loves him. I actually think that Axel Foley like loved him in that moment, and to watch Judge Reinhold like come around, like he was always really liked him, even though he was
Yeah.
supposed to do his thing. It was just, to me, that was a sweet moment and like kind of solidified their relationship
Yeah,
and
100%.
movie forward.
Yeah, I think that was a great choice. I went with the pool table scene with Michael Tandino, and they talk about why you never turned him in, and
I
it
love
was
him.
it was a nice little heartfelt moment, and you really kind of, one, you learned about Michael Tandino, but then I think that's what really kind of, I think, set the movie to
Well,
happen.
yeah, it made you care about
It made you care,
Axel's
but you,
journey.
yeah, because besides him being Eddie Murphy, you really didn't know why his character would necessarily risk everything. And I think without that scene, I don't know if it's plausible that he would risk everything to go after a guy that just got out of jail. Like, why did he care this much? But I think that scene solidified the big why. Pete, what do you got?
Mm, yeah, I mean, didn't really get emotional. I mean, that's a good scene, Paul. Um, I think, on the same, using the same character, I think that Eddie Murphy at times showed some like real seriousness and like I'm gonna mess you up kind of looks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was only at the very end when Victor Maitland's counter his partner, his right-hand man is like when I popped your little buddy, and Eddie Murphy's face just changes completely into rage, sadness, realization because they finally admitted what they did. And then he just gets the shit just kicked out of him, you know what I mean? It was just a great
Yeah.
emotional moment, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good scene as well. All right, good.
I think I'm voting for Paul.
I'm gonna vote for Paul too.
Okay. Sounds good. So we are all tied up again at twos. Now this one's gonna be tough. Do you guys want to do a funniest and underrated one, or do you want to just do funniest?
I have one of each.
Okay.
For the scene that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Hmm.
no, scene or line? Sorry.
Scene. This is a
No,
scene.
this is a scene.
Let's just do a scene, just one scene.
Let's pick a scene.
Okay. So next we have Ma the Meatloaf, scene that makes you laugh or feel good. Obviously, it's gonna be laugh in this film. So I think I'm starting on this one, right?
Oh, me.
It's you? I
So
thought you started the last one, no?
Peter did.
No, I think I did.
Oh, okay. Then yes, Drew, go.
It's the scene behind me, and there's so many great scenes
That's
in
why
this.
he was like so eager to be first.
I know, right?
Oh,
I
oh,
know
me,
Peter
me.
says
Oh, oh.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of great scenes in this movie, and it'll just come down to how we're feeling and how you describe it. But we've already talked about it, like, and that's kind of why I was saving it, Paul, and not talking about Bronson Pinchot yet.
Yeah.
Like it for like amount, like Damon Wayans is another one. Amount of screen time for memorable, like
Oh,
by a memorable
the
role.
impact is
Like
off the
if you look at
charts.
the XY axis, it's insane. He's in there for like 2 minutes total or something. And it is laugh out loud funny the entire time. The way he talks, the things he says, his facial expressions, the chemistry between him and Eddie Murphy, and just like them definitely like having this. I can't even imagine what it was like behind the scenes watching those two try to get through a scene with each other and doing that.
Yeah.
Like he's so funny. And when he calls the guy over and he's like sends him on his way with the errand and
Johnny,
like with the shirt,
Donnie.
like the like he's just like it's not
it's
sexy.
not
Not sexy.
sexy to scrub for the customer.
It's not sexy.
But then
Uh
Eddie Murphy's like, no, it's not sexy at
No,
all.
no, not at all.
like I,
Just a subtle line too.
So
Bronson
good.
Pinchot is it's such a shame he just kind of fell out of the fell out of Hollywood and fell out of acting because his performances in here and like obviously a TV show from our childhood.
At least we got Perfect Strangers out of it.
True Romance. I thought he was
I was just
brilliant in
gonna
True
say
Romance.
true romance amazing.
So
Like
good.
it just sucks that he kind of went away because I loved him in everything he did and nothing better than here.
Yeah.
And this scene makes me laugh out loud every single time. Like just his delivery is perfect. Eddie Murphy's responses are perfect. He, if anybody in the entire movie almost upstages Eddie Murphy, it's him in this scene, and that feels impossible because Eddie Murphy's such a superstar.
And then like bonus footage at the end of the film when you get the 3 second version of Surge, where he's like, can if that's not a problem. No, don't be stupid, and that's it. And then he's done. He's not in the scene anymore. But that line
Yeah.
Yeah.
is just brilliant.
Don't
So
be stupid. Yeah, so I'm toward. So I agree. I think that's probably the funniest scene. I'm debating between. I mean, I love the scene behind me, but I don't. I mean, that again, it's almost too short to be the funniest scene.
It's almost a shot versus a scene, though, huh?
Yeah. So like, but the other part I like is when they're in the police station, and then the police chief comes in, and then Eddie Murphy does like his impression, "Oh, rock the buffet at the Herald's Club this morning," like,
You
and then
lower your voice.
yeah, yeah, like just all the reactions around there. Again, you're starting to see a little bit of the guys are kind of together at this moment, because he's starting to win over everybody. So I think it's a combination of, again, like feel good and funny. So I'm gonna go with that one. Pete.
Yeah, I've got several. I think I'm gonna go with a scene that Drew mentioned at the towards the beginning, and I think it's almost halfway through the film, like right in the middle of the movie. It seems out of place, but it's so important between the two characters is the stakeout scene between Taggart and
I mentioned
uh,
it. I mentioned it.
that was you who mentioned it. Okay, it's so dry, the way that they're talking to each other, and it feels like it should feel slower, but it doesn't because it's hilarious. Um, And then they revisited it again with another one. Who's like, I've been noticing you drinking a lot of coffee lately too.
Yeah.
And it's just like you can just see Taggart just like, I'm gonna murder this guy, and I
And
got to
the
deal with Axel at the same time.
and the weight is great too.
Yeah, from Karate Kid. That's what's his name from Karate Kid.
Right.
Yeah, I'll go with that one.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Drew. I mean, I don't want to overthink it. It's the funniest scene, and he had a good explanation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I have it behind me too.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right.
Drew will get the point. Three,
All right,
two, two.
Drew in the lead.
That was another. I mean, that was just lucky I went first. It's such a
Yeah,
good.
I agree. I agree. But again, sometimes it can backfire. But you did a really good job of explanation too, because I was thinking about like trying to say something else, but it's like you covered it. So you did a
What
good
else
job.
are you gonna say?
Yeah. All right. Next we have line, please. This is a big
Oof.
one. I don't even know how to. I don't even know. This one's tough to differentiate between underrated and over, like, or main. Like, this one's tough. Um, but oh, I guess I start too.
I know it's hard.
I'm just gonna keep it simple of what I quote the most, and I think that's the best way for me to do this. And so I'm gonna just say it. It's go ahead, take the bananas. I just think I'd say that maybe the most.
Yeah. Damn.
Even Mark and I sometimes like I'll go ahead, take them. Like, I don't know. I literally say it
It's so
almost
good.
almost every week, if not. Like, I think that's my guy.
This is actually one of the few movies that you can actually quote stuff with Mark, and he knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Pete, Pete, what do you got?
Um, we're just doing one.
let's
This is
do
one.
underrated too.
No, well, we got to go through our round first. That way, no one uses.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, but we'll do an underrated also, right?
Yeah.
Well, based on the same criteria that Paul used, outside of go ahead and take those bananas, this is not my locker. It just is one of these lines that we always used whenever we tried to like, what? I don't know. I didn't know. I'm not doing anything. It's like we always said, this is not my
Whenever you
locker.
want to answer a question, yeah,
Yeah, you just kind of look around. It's one of my favorite lines ever.
yeah, for sure. I had that one written down also.
Dude, Paul Reiser, by the way, just like walking around with a gun, his gun tucked into his waistband, like in a police station. Like, can't get this man a holster. Um,
No, I read something about that. They said that's kind of what that's kind of what they used to do.
that's what they do in Detroit.
Yeah, like, I don't know where I read that, but that was on purpose. And I think Inspector Todd was the one that said, like, yeah, that's how you want to wear it. Like, we don't wear them in the thing at the office.
That's crazy. Todd was great, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Um,
good.
I loved There's so many good lines, my goodness. When he gets thrown out the window and the cop car is immediately there, like as
Yeah.
he's breaking through the glass, the cop car is driving up the sidewalk and he just like rolls through the glass. They get out of the car and he doesn't miss a beat, just looks straight at him. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Like, I can describe all of them. And then they're like, please move to the side. Why
Why?
with you guys? Like,
What's
just
the-
like those two lines back to back with their deadpan, and like I just every time gets me. It's
It's
just
so funny.
Yeah.
what's with you guys?
And then it keeps going. You arrest me for getting thrown out a fucking window?
Yeah.
What happens if you get thrown out of a police car? Jaywalking?
Yeah.
So
And then
funny.
cut right after that. One's a good cut. Awesome. Well, so then I'll just go into the underrated, or do you
Sure.
want to, or should Drew, or should we do Snake?
I can do Snake. I don't mind going.
Let's go Snake.
All right. Only because
Yeah.
I don't feel that's fair for me to have first on both.
Underrated is when he goes upstairs to his apartment at the beginning and Tandino's in there and he's broken in and he goes in, he's got his gun, comes through the door, comes in, he's like, oh, see, you're still breaking into houses. And then he's like, the guy's like, well, what do you expect with a lock like this? And he goes, oh, I don't need a lock, I got a pistol, I'll just pop a cap in somebody. Like, to me, that's so like just his delivery reminds me so much of his stand-up. Seems so off the cuff. I don't think it was in the script. Like, just classic, like, I don't need a lock, I got a pistol, I'll pop a cap in somebody.
So good.
That's my underrated line.
Pete, what do you got?
Um, so the beginning of the movie, action sequence, some comedy, then Axel's getting chewed out, but he's trying to be kind of funny, but then it gets kind of serious. Like, dude, don't do this again, because that's it. So there's an air of seriousness, and then Eddie Murphy's like, "Hey, boss, Chief ain't chewing it all off. He's still got a little ass there." So it just kind of set this tone with Axel's character, where he always has the best thing to say, and to lighten up a serious mood for sure. I always love that. He's still got a little ass there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't mess with me, Axel. Not
Yeah.
now.
So for mine, I have to go something that Serge says because Serge has to win a quote of something. And so I think lemon twist is maybe too prominent.
I love lemon
But Pete
twist.
kind of mentioned it earlier. I think it's like it's one of his throwaway lines, but it's just like, "Don't be stupid." Like it's
No,
just at
don't
the
be
very end,
stupid.
"Don't be stupid," and just the way he says it, I think absolutely crushes it. And again, another one we always quote all the time, but yeah, I'm gonna go with that one for Bronson Pinchot. He has to win a quote award. I think he's too good.
Uh, I think I think I'm voting for Paul because yeah, I mean, shame on us for giving Serge such high praise, but not giving him a line as your quote.
Agreed. I'll give it for Bronson Pinchot.
For
Got
underrated.
it.
Respect.
And
2 points.
you get
Oh, I just gave you the point for both just because you
oh
said
no, no, it's
Serge.
2 points, 2 points.
Oh, okay. So then Paul
Yeah,
gets
so
that
I give it
one.
to Paul for underrated.
What was the other one?
Oh, just the top quote. Mine was, "But don't take the bananas." Yours was, "This is not my locker,"
Oh, yeah, I'm voting for me.
and then Drew's is,
Did you see that? I could describe all of them.
Oh, hey,
yeah,
what's with you guys?
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going me.
All right, I'll go Pete. That's fine. All
Fine.
right, so we're tied again, 3-3.
Things are heating up.
Yeah.
The heat is on. Let's go.
Um, did I don't really have a great shot. I don't think this movie is like the cinematography is like that good. Do you guys
I
want to do
have
this or no?
I have
I have
one.
one.
Okay.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh,
We'll just do
jinx,
one.
Drew.
We're not gonna do underrated because I don't think the cinematography is like fantastic. So
We
this
don't
next
need a point. I just want to talk about the one shot.
Yeah, we don't need points for
okay.
this one.
Next shot is a great shot, favorite shot in the film. And then started. So Pete, you're gonna start.
Well, let's not have this be in the rotation since it's not for a point.
Exactly, Drew.
So then Drew talk then.
I
Well, what
love
if I want to talk?
the
I
shot
don't
at
know why Drew like
He
what it,
called on me first.
the
I know.
shot at the beginning because like there's some benefit to being first on some of these if you're getting a point. This one's not for a point. Um, I
Okay.
think the scene at the
What's the next
beginning
category?
in the cigarette truck, and there's a shot from the back of the truck looking at Eddie and the crook out into the alley. They're standing on the back of the truck, and there's a shot looking past them
Oh
into the,
yeah. And
and
you see
down
the
at the
cop
end of the
car.
alley is the cop car.
Yeah.
And that's the way it goes by, and then like they're just arguing, and then it kind of just like pulls back. It's like
Yeah.
what the hell? And just like imagining what that cop is thinking about as he comes and pulls back and then drives down the alley and then like slowly creeps up and they have no idea until he's like right on them.
Yeah.
I like that shot.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah.
I mean, when they're in the strip club and Axel notices the guys who are gonna make the robbery, um, the music gets very like nee, 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 but then like the lights, and then Eddie Murphy's like serious to Taggart look where he's just like, dude, something's about to go down. But his eyes with the lighting,
Yeah.
I don't think they planned it. It just looked super cool with those strobes on him,
Yeah.
and he looked really serious. Like he looked really just like no nonsense.
I think these
It was
guys
a
are
good
all
show.
we should do something.
No, no, no,
Mine's
no.
gonna be kind of the final shot, which is, Axel's kind of got one knee on the ground. Um, Maitland shoots right past his head, so you can see the bullet hole. And then he's shooting, and then you have Bogomil right above him shooting. It's just those two kind of shooting together. I think it's one of the better composed shots. Uh,
Yeah, I like that shot.
I think that was a really good shot. And there's another one where they're all three kind of shooting as well. And again, it's kind of that teamwork again. But again, I think you really see what Tony Scott brought to the table versus Martin Brest. Martin Brest is more of like let the action happen in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think it was perfect for this film because of all the improv. But in the next film, which was more action based, you have more of the cinematography that Tony Scott's known for. So
Yeah, he's so good.
all
And
right.
Eddie Murphy giving that A-OK, that I mean, that's a classic shot. It
Yeah,
was just like,
freeze frame. Apparently he relented on the freeze frame too. He didn't like the freeze frame, and they said if you wanted this, then you have to do the free frame. Something like that was like a trade-off. It's in my notes, I forgot.
all right, do the freeze frame.
Director's chair.
Fuck.
I don't really have anything for director's chair. There's one thing I wrote. Do you guys want to get points for director's chair or no?
I don't really have anything.
Besides like again, just more cinematic shots, but that's nitpicking.
There was like this one moment, and I kept rewinding it like 100 times. It's when Axel and Jenny are going into the warehouse, and as the door closes, the music stops perfectly, and then boom, the next scene, it's all quiet, and they're kind of walking through the warehouse. It's not exactly on
Yeah,
when the door closes, and
yeah,
if it would have just been right on, it would have just separated the two shots.
yeah. Yeah, the other one it had been similar, but like right after like they find the drugs in it, like they don't have a camera or anything, like a Polaroid. Like in the beginning, they're like, "Do you have any sort of proof?" And it's like they finally get the proof, and they don't come prepared with a camera at least. Like I don't know, that seemed a little like bad cop.
But
Uh,
it's hard to scale those fences and stuff when you have a big giant Polaroid camera around your neck, the big thick box in all those pictures.
or
There's no way.
I don't know. I just feel like that's. I think it's an easy ad that you could have done. And I don't know what other camera they have. I mean, no, you can do a regular. They had real small cameras back then, still little square ones.
Oh, like those disposable ones?
They're not disposable, but
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
use film.
Those ones
But
at parties.
yeah, I don't know. I think there was enough technology. There's a smaller camera. I think that you could use. Like again, kind of come prepared. Like this is literally what you're going for is to get evidence, and you don't take pictures. I don't know. And then the other one was, and I read about it, which it kind of always confirmed, but when the guys get there at the apartment and he knocks Foley down, but you don't actually kind of like see it. And then he kills Tandino, but it's a little confusing and you kind of figure it out eventually, but apparently they didn't shoot the coverage because they ran out of time. But it always made that I was always curious on why, like, I was like, oh, okay, he knocked him out. Like, I felt like you had to jump to conclusions versus they showed it. And so I actually, when I was doing the notes, it said, yeah, that they missed that and they know it. They just didn't have the time. So that was
I
always,
think that would have been a point winner, that one.
yeah. I mean, it's all right. I would like to do it if it's actually like something discussable. I don't want to do it if none of us really have much. All right, next, this will be the last category. And this is winner take all, guys, because it's 3-3-3-3. Top 5 cop movies. And again, for our audience members, I wanted to specifically make it police. This isn't private detective. This isn't U.S. Marshals. This isn't FBI. This is not law enforcement. This is police. So I wanted to make that because again, it can make the category huge, but I want to specifically do cops because
Huge.
this is a cop movie. So with that, so Pete, you'll start
I
on this
did
one.
the me. Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
because I was going to start with you last one, then Drew interrupted. It would have been Drew first on this one if he would have just went with it, but
No way, I went first on the line, right?
no, I did first in line.
Good news is there's plenty to choose from here. So
Yeah.
There's a ton to choose from. This is really hard. I almost don't want to go first. This is so bad. All right. I went number 5. I went Police Academy because it's just so classic cop, but it's hilarious.
Wow. How in the
And
world were you able to squeeze Police Academy in your list?
dude, I mean, they made a million of these movies, and Steve Guttenberg was like the guy for that run. Like there was nothing that he couldn't do up until like Three Men and a Baby. Like Steve Guttenberg like ruled the world.
talk about
Um,
man,
talk about what?
happened to him like it.
Yeah, and then
He ended
like
up doing he
Kaiser
was in Ballers.
Soze.
He was in
Go on.
Ballers. Yeah, I think he took a break from acting.
Well, a 40-year break. Jeez.
No, like he did stuff in the 90s. It was like a 20-year break.
Yeah, but I mean, he was either way.
Yeah.
Number 4, I went.
Massive Steve Gutenberg side
Yeah. Hey guys, let me tell you about Steve Gutenberg. Like, it's just like, oh great, this is gonna be a great
Lost
conversation.
all of our audience in the
Yeah. Number 4, I put No Country for Old Men because there were cops in it, and it's just one of the best movies I've ever seen. Um, Number 3, I put Training Day because again, it was just this amazing cop detective film, and we see one of the best performances of all time in Ethan Hawke. And then number 2, I put Seven, and Seven is just one of these movies that I could watch every day. I can watch Seven every day. It's so brilliant. It's so complex, and it's just brilliantly acted and shot, and music is crazy. Number 1, Die Hard is the best cop movie of all time.
yeah.
What a great list.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Beautiful
What do you
list. Police Academy.
Our lister, it was so hard for me to leave No Country for Old Men off.
got?
Number
That one
5,
might be a little bit of a stretch from the cop movie, but
Tommy
Really?
Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones is great.
He's a cop.
I
Um,
don't know. I just
Number
don't.
5 for me is Training Day. Love that film. All the reasons Peter just said.
Absolutely.
Could have been higher. Phenomenal. This is my Coen Brothers film. It is not No Country for Old Men, but I chose Fargo. I feel like the further we get away from it, the more we forget how important that film was for
Yeah.
what it did, introducing really them like to the mainstream, and Frances McDormand in an absolutely astonishing performance. Buscemi, William Macy, all of them.
She won, didn't she? Didn't she win Best
She
Actress?
did. She did.
Yeah.
It's just a great film.
Won a few. I think I won like 4 or 5 Oscars that year. That was
Yeah.
like cleaned up.
So love that movie. And number three for me is Die Hard, which is could have been number one. It was Peter's number one. It's awesome. It's just great. Number two, Seven. I agree. Peter, you're on my list are very similar. Seven, I could watch. I mean, it's
Is number one Police Academy for you?
like close.
Great.
Um,
Wow. We're like the
it,
same.
oh, but Seven, just all of the performances. Morgan Freeman, I think maybe at his best. Brad Pitt at one of his best. Kevin Spacey, just so creepy. It's just great. And then number one, for me is I understand why it may not have been on lists of your guys's, but I've already said I love 70s films, and for me, what Dirty Harry did to change the like not like just sort of change the narrative on what cop movies were. It was really gritty, really dark, and Clint Eastwood is Clint Eastwood, and he crushed it.
Mm.
Me, Dirty
Yeah.
Harry.
Yeah, I really want to include Dirty Harry. Originally I was thinking Chinatown, but that's Private Detective, so it doesn't qualify. But my number five is Drew's number five, which is Training Day. I think when you're talking about police corruption, I think this is like the all-timer, and I think that one leads the way. My number four, um, again, I think it spawned a big franchise, but I think I find it funnier than, let's say, Lethal Weapon. I think Lethal Weapon's good, but I think I just personally like it better. I think it fits my style. I like the director more, and it's Bad Boys franchise. I think I just love everything about it. I mean, Michael Bay, obviously,
You love some Bad
yeah, and
Boys.
Richard Donner is a great director. I mean, I easily could have put Lethal Weapon. They're great, but I really love Bad Boys, and there's not a bad one. I really like all of them. My number three, I'm really surprised none of you guys like it. I think this is one of the best pure cop films about a police department, and I think it's the most one of the most comprehensive films that's really just deals with the entire police force. What?
You want me to guess yours?
Sure, go for it.
LA Confidential.
LA Confidential.
It's the one I wanted on
Not
the list so bad.
that I don't. You said that we don't like it. It's great. It's just not on my list. But I love it.
Man, I love that movie
Hate it.
so much.
We hate it, Drew.
I really wanted it on my list.
Yeah, I think, and I try to kind of also like do different categories, but I think when it comes to like again like a pure police movie, I think this is the purest out of all these other films. I think it's the purest police movie. It's the one you actually see him in a police station. It's about different hierarchies within a police department. So that's my number three.
So good.
That one could have been number one too. I think it's got that one. My number two is Pete's number one, Die Hard. I think this one's the underdog cop movie where it's, that's actually like the fact that he's a cop is actually used against him because they're like, oh, he's just a cop. Like we're fucking smart terrorists. You know what I mean? And they use that against him. And obviously John McClane shows them what a New York cop's all about.
He certainly did.
Spoiler alert. So yeah, that Die Hard's my number two. And I included Beverly Hills Cop because I do think Beverly Hills Cop's the best pure police movie that there is. Obviously it's in the name, Beverly Hills Cop. If I was gonna eliminate that one, I would have put Dirty Harry probably my number five for I think it's the most important that really set the stage for badass cop films, and obviously like when you think of Clint Eastwood, it's either westerns or it's Dirty Harry, and so I think significant, culturally significant, that'd be number five if we're eliminating Beverly Hills Cop, but I still want to
If I,
include it in the list.
and if I'm eliminating Police Academy and then I'm replacing it with Naked Gun.
I wanted to do Naked Gun. I would have given you more credit if you did Naked Gun. I like Naked Gun better than Police Academy.
It was hard for me to leave off Heat.
Yeah, I'm not a
Yeah,
huge guy. I just think
it's a good movie.
good movie, but I just think it's a little too long.
It's on my list, but it's not in my top five for
Like I
sure.
didn't put it on there, but I wanted to mention it. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Pete, did you want to name another one that was in your discussion? I have a couple more.
No, I mean LA Confidential was right up there, and I thought that Naked Gun.
Yeah, Naked Gun was on mine for sure.
The
Uh,
two hardest for me to leave off was LA Confidential and No Country.
okay. Yeah, my other ones, I mean, I already mentioned Lethal Weapon, but 21 Jump Street. I just rewatched that one, and I mean I think that movie is so gold.
The
Uh,
original.
No, the original was a series.
movie. Yeah, the original was
Oh yeah. Duh.
with
Sorry.
Jonah
But the
Hill
first
and
one,
Channing
Yeah,
Tatum. But
it's
they're
so
both good.
funny.
They're both really good.
It's
I
so
really
funny.
wish they would do a third one. I thought they're the way they go back and forth, I think is fantastic, and they can go toe to toe with any of these great buddy cop type movies. And the other one is Rush Hour. I think Rush Hour is so good and so uh different because it was just such a mixed match of characters, but it works. And then Chris Tucker just kind of makes fun of Jackie Chan, and Jackie Chan is just such a great sport and just can take these kind of jokes, but then also just obviously adds the martial arts aspect to it and the stunts that he does. Like he's just an incredible actor. So yeah, those were my ones. All right. Well, guys, this is
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
I'm gonna start with you, Pete. Where does your vote go?
Well, I don't know. If I really had to vote, you know what I mean? I would
I mean, if
probably
you do,
go.
you have to vote.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like of them. We all had pretty similar movies. I'm gonna vote for myself because I mean, Die Hard is the number one cop movie of all time,
Drew, what do you got?
and Police Academy is incredible.
Run down your list again for me, Paul. Just super quick.
Training Day, Bad Boys, LA Confidential, Die Hard, Beverly Hills Cop.
I had No Country for Old Men.
I I don't know. I have to put my list in not only because, but like Dirty Harry. I don't know how you leave Dirty Harry off a all-time cop list movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
yeah, I'll vote for you. I don't want to vote for
Yeah.
myself in it. I think that's tacky. Um, I wish you had included LA Confidential, and I think you'd easily won it.
Yeah.
I think that would have been what if you would have just rearranged it for that. I think you easily would have the list. But I agree kind of with the Dirty Harry. That's why I didn't want to take off Training Day, but
No, you couldn't
so
take Training Day off.
I need to see Training Day. I need to see Dirty Harry more. I've only seen it once. But again, I think culturally significance, I think you have to kind of include it. So yeah, I'm going to vote in Drew. So Drew's going to win it.
Hey, Drew.
Congrats
Look
to
at
It's been
you,
a while.
man.
I haven't won in a while, to be honest.
Uh,
But
I
that
don't
was
know if
close.
that's
I mean,
true.
this was
I,
really
I think you
Yeah, I don't
won.
know.
no. Paul won last time, and I think
Well,
John
that one hasn't aired yet,
won
technically.
one
So
time before
spoiler,
that.
Yeah. Look at
spoiler for
Drew.
the audience.
Oh,
Drew.
Drew, don't be humble. Come on. This
All right.
humble charade.
So let's wrap this up, guys. We're at the end here.
can I say something before you wrap it up?
Yeah.
You guys, it's hard playing against you two, especially when it's just the three of us, because you guys have so many entwined memories. But what I was gonna say is what I love going back to some of these movies that are like from our childhood that were like, I just love that. Sorry, I'm getting cheesy for a second. I love talking about it with you guys because even though we didn't know each other at this age, it's so awesome to know kind of how important some of these same things were because we were contemporaneous. And so it almost feels like I was with you guys in your childhood getting to talk about these movies with you. So I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for
That's what
sure.
we love about it. We love movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Drew, you get to pick. We talked about we have a few on the list that we've been wanting to do, but you'll get the choice. We did a pre-meeting, so I'm not going to expose them here, but your choice, buddy. What do you want to do?
I think it's time. I think it's been on probably 50% of all lists on this show at some point or another. I think it's time we do The Godfather.
I think Pete even included on his best cop movies list.
Yes, there are cops in that movie.
All right, Godfather. Yeah, I think that's an easy one. I mean, should have been a season one for sure.
But it's not an easy one. This is going to be the most difficult
It's going to be the one where I
challenge.
feel like the
Well,
most like I have to study and not let the movie down.
yeah, I actually have a book that I have to read. So awesome. Thanks. I bought a book about the Godfather I have to read. Yeah, it's right over
You
here.
can't read. Stop.
Yeah, you're supposed to base it on the movie, not what you like reading volumes of
No,
extra
so I'm reading
information.
that. I'm
I
reading the
mean,
actual
literally,
book.
he doesn't know how to read, but that too.
I'm reading the actual book by Mario Puzo because I
Uh,
want to know the differences. So
that's the book.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure that's
See, now
true.
he's going to sound
I
all
already know all
smart
the back,
during the
a lot
thing.
of the background. Obviously, like I'm gonna watch The Offer again to get some of the background. But
Let's fast forward to the next podcast. Who am I? Well, actually, in the book, it was more like this instead
yeah,
of like,
that's exactly who I am.
oh yeah,
Here, let me.
it wasn't like that in the book.
Let
The
me also fast
original
forward.
literary analysis of the
Yes.
peer-reviewed study of the book.
Here, let me fast forward to the pointing system. You know, I'm just gonna vote for myself because my lists are so awesome.
Dude, Police Academy, come on.
All right. Well, thank you both. Congrats again, Drew, for winning this one. Thanks, Pete, for also joining. We appreciate everyone. Make sure you guys check out our other podcasts. Obviously, make sure you check out our Beverly Hills Cop Axel F review. We just did that. Drew and I also just reviewed in our Paul's Old Ass Movie Classics. We just reviewed Defiant Ones. And then also in our other bigger classic reviews, we just reviewed Terminator 2. So make sure you check all those out. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And with that, Pete and Drew, that's a cut. Thanks, guys.